I am trying to adjust my camera. Wait for it. Okay, there you go. BootTube! This is my reaction rant. I already made this video, ironically enough, but for some oddball reason when I uploaded it, it disappeared. My videos are vanishing, yo! But anyway, getting comfortable. But anyway, this is my reaction rant to The Flash, Season 2, Episode 21, titled The Runaway Dinosaur. I know for a fact I recorded it. Like, I remember recording it at night, and then I was gonna upload it the next morning, but then when I tried, it disappeared. So I was like, okay. But anyway, starting off, remember when Jesse and Wally escaped the Braille room and, got knocked out after Barry got disintegrated? Yeah, they were finally found unconscious by Joe and, Harry. The moment they get to them, Wally does wake up, but Jesse apparently is in a coma. And, meanwhile, during all that, Cisco touches Barry's charred suit, like the piece of the suit that that the team saw after, he disintegrated. He ends up vibing, and all of a sudden he realizes that Barry is still alive, and he tells Harry that he just had a vibe of Barry, and he's surrounded by, like, a whirlwind of shit, right? And it pretty much gives Harry, like, a pretty good idea on where Barry is. Apparently, according to Harry, which I already assumed, is that Barry is literally in the Speed Force. And so, going to Barry actually wakes up. He's in his own bedroom, and I mean his bedroom he had in the house where he grew up with his parents. And, he finds Joe in his cop outfit, observing the scene where his mother was killed. There's police tape everywhere and all that stuff. And this Joe explains that he's not really Joe. That he's actually a physical manifestation of the Speed Force itself. I had no idea that the Speed Force could actually be like that. Like, it actually could make a physical manifestation of itself. I really thought I didn't know it could do that. That pretty much goes to show you that I don't know the diddly shit about the Speed Force if I didn't even know it actually could make itself a physical manifestation. But, yeah, it explains that, it made itself a physical form and took the shape of Joe, because, he's close to Joe, Barry's close to Joe. And so, Joe informs Barry that he cannot leave the Speed Force until he catches this mysterious, speeding, moving figure that's going around outside the house, right? So they pretty much leave it at that for now, and, while the team is trying to find a way to bring Barry out of the Speed Force. Because, according to Cisco, when he first vibed him, he's surrounded by stuff. So it pretty much is, that was the clue that, a whirlwind of stuff. That's just pretty much the clue to Harry that he was in the Speed Force. So they're trying to do, like, this test run, like, since Cisco was the one that vibed him and saw him, he could probably be, like, the key to bringing him back, right? So they're trying to do this machine. They put this, like, it looked like kind of like a metal crown-looking object on Cisco's head, probably to help with his vibes. And then they pretty much put him, like, behind that machine that Barry was strapped to get his powers back. And, during that whole thing, you see Barry chasing after this speeding figure, right? And he he ends up, I forgot what place it was, but he runs into Iris, and it turns out it's still the Speed Force, but instead of, taking the form of Joe, it took the form of Iris, again, someone close to Barry. And, the Speed Force Iris pretty much says, do you recognize this place? It's like, yeah, this is where I first kissed you and all that stuff. And around that time when he's talking to Speed Force Iris, Cisco and the team managed to get, Vibe to try to get to Barry. And at one point, they actually do get to Barry a little bit because, back in the Speed Force, a big, whirlwind tornado-looking thing shows up, right? And, Barry's like, oh my god, what is that, right? And Iris is telling him, oh, those are your friends. They're trying to bring you home, right? And, Cisco's trying desperately to get to Barry, and at the same time, while he's trying to get to Barry, it looks like he's conflicted when he's looking at Cisco. And the explanation was that when he's talking to Speed Force Iris is pretty much telling him, your friends are trying to come after you. But if you go now, you will go back home without your powers. Right? Or you stay here and try to work your way and try to get your powers back. So, pretty much when Cisco and the team tried to bring in Barry the first time, they failed. Because Barry chose to stay there in the Speed Force to get his powers back, because he did not want to go back home without his powers. And so Barry ends up chasing after that mysterious moving figure again, and this time the Speed Force takes to the form of Barry's father, Henry, who is literally standing in a graveyard. And Barry recognizes it all too well, because Speed Force Henry is literally standing in front of Nora Allen's gravestone. And Barry does not want to be there. He's obviously uncomfortable. You can see in his face, right? And that's that moment where we actually find out that the Speed Force is kind of testing Barry, mainly because they said the Speed Force pretty much challenges Barry on what it means to be a hero. And also the fact that they're telling him, you cannot become the Flash again until you finally accept your mother's death. That's what Speed Force Henry was telling Barry, which is why he was there at the graveyard in front of Nora Allen's tombstone. It's because despite, Barry's been arguing with the Speed Force saying, I know what it takes to be the hero. Look what I did with my powers. I saved everyone. And, the Speed Force is like, no, you don't. You don't know what it means to be a hero. And yes, you saved a bunch of lives and all that stuff, but you haven't truly embraced your powers because you haven't truly accepted your mother's death, right? And Barry pretty much goes in full denial of that. He's like, yeah, whatever. And I don't remember what happened directly after he talked to Speed Force Henry Allen, but I know for a fact he went after that, mysterious moving figure again, where he ends up back into the house where he woke up in, where the Speed Force has actually taken the form of his mother, Nora Allen, which very much, pinches a nerve a little bit on Barry, saying, you're not my mother, you're the Speed Force, all that stuff, why are you doing this to me? And when you actually listen to Speed Force Nora, it almost sounds like the real Nora Allen, because she's saying stuff to Barry that obviously a mother would know, and I know it's like the Speed Force is like this cool thing that probably knows everything about Barry and his mother, but it's like, to know that, those minor details, especially the whole Barry telling his mother, remember that book you used to read to me, the Runaway Dinosaur? And all that stuff, which is the title of the show. It had a beautiful connected moment. He shares a beautiful moment with Speed Force Nora, even though it's not really his mother. Seeing him have a moment with his mother and see Barry actually accept his mother's death, saying, I accept it, I have to move on from it, and, seeing him share that moment with his mother and actually finally accepting that she's gone was a very moving and touching thing to see. I actually cried when I saw that, right? And, Speed Force Nora, knowing that, Barry has accepted his mother's death, says that he is ready to, go back home. And that mysterious figure comes into the house, and Barry actually catches it, and that mysterious figure is actually himself. And so with his powers restored, and all of a sudden his Flash suit comes out of nowhere, he's all of a sudden wearing his Flash suit. Like, Cisco attempts one more time to try to get to Barry, because he figured out from the first time he tried to bring Barry that the reason why Barry did not grab his hand and leave the first time is because he wasn't ready. He figured out that Barry wasn't ready. So he's like, let's do it again. This time we're going to bring Barry back, and Iris volunteers to go with Cisco, hold on to him while he's vibing, to try to bring Barry back. And so with the help of Iris, Cisco is able to bring Barry back to Star Labs in time, because during that entire episode, apparently, when they set off the particle accelerator, apparently, there was a dead metahuman in Star Labs. You guys remember Tony Woodward, the guy, the bully of Barry Allen, the one that had an obsession with Iris? Apparently, Evil Wells, Eobard Thawne, actually kept his dead body in Star Labs in the morgue, and during the whole particle accelerator thing with Barry and all that stuff, he came back to life like undead-wise. He became a zombie and started attacking them. And so, that's the reason why Cisco's like, they were all trapped in Cisco's lab at that moment. And Cisco's like, Barry's the only one that can save us. We gotta try again to bring him back. So, long story short, Barry manages to return back with the help of Cisco and Iris. And he actually saves the team from the reanimated corpse, aka zombie, of Tony Woodward. And, afterwards, I thought it was really cool because afterwards, Barry manages to use his Speed Force abilities that he's never seemingly have shown. The entire first season and so far in the second season, we have not seen Barry use the Speed Force in this way, but Barry manages to use the Speed Force energy to bring Jessie out of her coma, which was pretty cool considering I don't think I've seen Barry do it. I don't think I've ever seen Barry use the Speed Force energy to bring someone out of a coma. So that's pretty freaking sick. Anyway, what really worries me is the fact that across town, after they're all celebrating, you know, we brought Barry back, he has his powers, and we defeated Zombie Tony. Across town, back at CCPD, remember, Zoom took control of the CCPD building, right? That's why, the CCPD are at Jitters, right? So anyway, Zoom has apparently assembled a metahuman army at CCPD. And he's planning to unleash all of them on Central City. Because I don't think at that moment Zoom does not know that Barry is alive, let alone with his powers back. So he's naturally like, oh yeah, by the way, Flash is dead. They tried to give him back his powers, but now he's dead. I'm gonna bring all these metahumans, unleash hell on Central City, right? So, I'm worried, but then I saw in the preview that this will be most likely the episode where we finally see Katie, the person who played, the beautiful person that played Laurel Lance, aka the Black Canary on Arrow. She is coming back to this universe in the form of the Flash, and she's going to be playing the Earth 2 doppelganger on the Flash, who is apparently called Black Siren, and she's going to be a legitimate metahuman. So that's going to be really cool to see. So this is my reaction rant to The Flash Season 2, Episode 21, titled Runaway Dinosaur, which was actually directed by Kevin Smith. I love that man. If you don't know who Kevin Smith is, especially if you're not much of a comic person, then I will let you go. But if you are like a comic nerd and you do not know who Kevin Smith is, shame on you. But anyway, my next video will most likely be Arrow Season 4, Episode 21, titled Monument Point. Peace, BooTube.